Hey everybody, welcome to the Vector Finesse Headband slicing guide. My name is Morgan. I designed the Headband headphones, and I'm going to walk you through how to take a default Cura profile. In this case, we're going to use the Ender 3 V2 or Ender 3 Pro default profile and show you how we need to adapt that to make sure you're getting the perfect slicing settings for all the part files on the Headband. Okay, so jumping into Cura. The plan here is we're going to take a stock Ender 3 Pro build plate with the standard quality profile, and we're going to build this out into what we need to slice the Headband files perfectly. So I'm going to start, it's worth mentioning here, I'm going to have just the basic settings to start from. For the beginner users, lots of people just use these and they're great, they perform well. And I'm going to use the search function in Cura a lot to navigate around, get to the setting that I need right away, because there's a ton. There's a lot of settings available if you're just scrolling around here. Search is your friend. It's faster than anything else. So I'm going to leave this in basic, and we are going to pull the cone into the build plate. Here we are. Let's grab the oriented cone. So now that we've got our model imported into Cura, I'm going to go ahead and pull up our slicing instructions so I can make sure that we're doing everything correctly. And what you'll see is we're worried about support here quite a bit. We want to use supports everywhere, and that's kind of the biggest tool we have for making the Headband sound great. Off of the standard quality default profile, we need to enable our generate support selection. We've already got it everywhere, so that's got the first part settled. We need to change the overhang angle to 34. What this setting does is it prevents the supports from showing up on these vents that we have around the periphery of the cone. And then from there, we're going to kind of run out of settings that we need to change for the Headband cone. So in order to get some of these settings, we're going to search for this. We could search pattern or density or whatever we want here. But if we want Cura just to show us all the support settings, we can simply type in support to the search bar and scroll to the support section. So for pattern, we want to change this to gyroid. We want the wall line count to be 0, and we want the cone support lines, not cone support lines, we want connect support lines to be off. And what this does for us is it creates, I'll show you here, slice. What this does is it prevents it prevents the slicing from creating lines in between the support structure, in between that gyroid support. And that means that the gyroid support resembles like an open-celled foam inside the headphones that we don't need to remove. And we can see that you can see these little crisscrosses in there. We also need to disable those. That's our last setting here. So the support density is another thing we need to change. This needs to be 11. We have the wall line count and the support lines. Like I said, that creates our open cell foam inside. The support XY distance, the default for Z is 0.2. The default for XY is 0.8, but we can change that to 0.2. And then we want to disable this support interface. And if we hit slice now, we should see a pretty good, let me make that big for us. We've got a pretty good thing here. We've got exactly what we needed, but we've got one problem, and that is the headphone port, the where the cable plugs in. That's plugged by supports, but you can see that we've got this nice open cell foam looking gyroid support inside headphone, and we actually also have some underneath here where the headband clamp comes in. So we'll take care of that in the next few steps here, and we are going to add some support blockers. So for support blockers, Cura is pretty bad at them. That's the reason why we oriented the part that we did just like this, so that we have a nice 90-degree for us. But when we start rotating them and twisting them, Cura has a tough time with that. So for this kind of most mission critical one, we oriented it so that one's easy. I'll show you how, but these where the headband clamp comes in, it's a little bit difficult to get the support there correctly. So in order to get a blocker in, we're going to select the model and select support blocker, and we're just going to click right on this red area here and get one there. So to make it the correct shape, we're going to select the what is this, scale, the scale tool, and unclick the uniform scaling. So we're going to click that support blocker itself, and we're going to stretch it this way. We're going to stretch it all three ways. This red direction into the cone, make sure that we cover the inside and outside of the cone. Blue needs to go through the top. It doesn't matter if it goes through the bottom. For support blockers, it just needs to go through those red areas that you're trying to. The red area means an overhang, and that's where the support's trying to do some work for us. And we want to prevent it from doing that. And then we're going to widen that support blocker so that we cover the whole, the entire thing here. The size in this direction doesn't matter a ton, but we want to also keep it out of the clip that holds in our mini XLR port. So make sure that that's good, and then we want to just center that on the mini XLR port. So that looks about good for me. This should come in centered. So if you line up, if you look directly from the top, and you line up the red arrow with that horizontal line, that should be centered on that port. Okay, so we can do a slice just to make sure that we've got that in the right spot and we don't have supports in our way. Click the preview button, and what do we get? I see our travels here. We don't need to see the travels, that's fine. And we can see that we don't have any support through there. That's good. We've got a clear shot, so that one's perfect. And then we will set up the support blocker for this area. This one's a little bit tough. When we print these cones, we just get away with 2 support blockers. And that's just to cover this little area underneath the underneath kind of this dovetail shape that keeps everything in place, so that we don't have supports going all the way across here. It's good to have some, but we're going to use the blockers to keep that area clear and easy for the support to remove. So, like I say, Cura is fine. Cura is really good at doing a scale and then a rotate. So if I want to scale this one, make it longer, which we're going to need under here, I'll do it to this one as well. That's all fine, and it's better to do that first, because if you rotate it, I find this a little bit frustrating. We're going to uncheck that snap rotation here so that we can get this a little bit more parallel with our where our support clamp is. If we scale it after this, it starts to do really weird things to our shapes, and it bothers me. So I usually will place my support blocker, make it the approximate length or a little bit longer than I need, and then I'll rotate it. That's kind of how you have to do it in Cura in order to get something that works properly. So I'm going to place these so that they just come over the ledges of these areas that hold on the headband clamp, just like that. So you can see I'm just into the red on both sides. I'll click slice to make sure that I get what I want. Click preview, and you can see that we've managed to get the support out from under this this area that's going to be tough to pick it out of later. Like we said before, if you need a brim here, I would change that for the build plate adhesion. We'll exit the support search, and we could click brim. And the default here is usually pretty wide, but if you want to open up those settings a little bit better without having to, choose the correct basic, advanced, expert, then we can do just adhesion in the search. And you're going to see all the rest of the settings pop out here. So the brim width, usually I use a 4, and I will also, we're missing another one here. Let's search for just brim. Aha, brim distance. This one's a trick. If you add a little bit of brim distance, it does a good job of taking care of any elephant's foot that you get at the bottom of the model, where the plastic squishes out. So you can make this brim distance 0.2 is something that I usually use. Make it the width only 4, and you'll see when we slice it now, we'll get a brim with a little gap, and it makes it really easy to remove after the fact, but also keeps the build plate adhesion really good. So you can see we have like a little bitty gap in the middle there. Let's see. There we go. You can just see it right there, and that's what that brim distance one does. So at this point, we're good. We're sliced. We're ready to go. The cone's ready, and so what we want to do is we did only send you a single cone model, and that's because we have kind of a funny way of telling left and right. The VF, our Vector Finesse logo on the left one, is backwards, and if we go back into the prepare mode, we can do Control A, select all, and we can mirror this whole, there's the mirror button. We can mirror the whole thing, and that's also going to mirror our logo to make it right on the right side. So it looks, the VF logo looks right on the right cone. And then we can click slice, and you're going to want to save this one for your, you're going to want to save this one as, cone right. So I've got this like to print folder, and I might save this as cone right, or however you want to name that. And that is how you slice the cone. So now that we slice the cone, I'll show you guys how to slice the headband mount. You can save this however you want to a specific sliced folder or to your printer's SD card. But given we went out through all this effort to put in the support blockers properly and all that, you could save this as a new project within Cura, and when you open that the next time, you'll be able to update the. You'll be able to come in here and if you want to make a change to the settings, you can start from a good spot without having to reset these. So for now, I will remove all of those. Control all and delete those, and then I'm going to open up my not the driver mount. That's not the one I want. We'll do that one later. I want the headband mount. There we go. This is the piece that sits inside the cone, and the head amame looking headband bumps along this little ball in the center. So for this one, we're going to use the same. We're going to use the exact same settings as the cone. The one that we mentioned in our slicing guide, let me see here. The one section that we mentioned in the slicing guide is this interior support brim. And what you'll see is if we just go straight and slice this, we'll see if we wind up with it. Preview. Yes, we did. We don't want this interior support brim. That's not really helpful to us. So it's this enable support brim. We can unselect that. Doesn't matter for the cone, but we can make this the same profile for both the cone and the. If you want to save this profile now, you can create profile from current settings and overrides, and I'm going to make this called cone and headband mount. and then now it's saved. And we can use that anytime we are slicing the cone and the headband. And if we issue an update to this, that's a good place to start, is you could take that and slice it. I should mention that those will both work for the, those will work for pretty much anything on your layer height. If you're on a Ender 3 Pro and you want these to look really nice, you can go to like you could start from the dynamic quality or the super quality. I don't think I've printed many in the super quality. It just takes too much time. But at this 0.16 layer height that Creality likes to use, that'll work just fine in this setting as well. And you'll see a bit of a better detailed VF logo and just a nicer print in general. The one thing you can do here, the one thing that I forgot to do, is we do need to add we need 4 support blockers for the holes here. And so I'll go back into the prepare, click on the model and the support blockers that we need. And I'm just going to click boop, boop, boop. And then I'm going to click this guy here. And just move these around so that we are only blocking the holes. All right, let's try that again. Preview. Again, I've changed this to 0.16. That's why we're seeing a 3-hour slice time, or a 3-hour print time. And there, we've removed all the support from those holes that we're going to need later on. So that is the headband mount. From there, I think we'll do the rest of the cone components and then on to the headband. We still have the driver mount, ear pad mount, headband mount we've already done, mini XLR clip, and the spring clamp. Open all of those. Cura's arrange tool has gotten better, but there we go. So for this one, we can go with our standard quality. Discard all the changes. You know, this is your Ender 3 Pro profile. And for this stuff, we're going to go back to our default settings that we had earlier on in the slicing guide. So, you know, nozzle size, all that stuff, that's fine. Build plate adhesion, good. Wall thickness, we need to check our wall thickness. What are we doing here? 1.6, let's change that to 2. The infill, we want to have 50% or more. Cubic is kind of my favorite one. Support, yes, we do need support. And we're going to make sure that we have the red profiles in the right spot. Good. And we're going to slice that and see what we get. What I'm looking for here mainly is, yes, we have this kind of purpley looking material underneath the driver mount is our support interface. It's going to make the removal of that support really easy. And the rest are designed in a way that we don't need any support at all. And we could just do a quick double check to make sure that we have thick wall thicknesses. You can see that, you know, that 2mm wall makes for a, there's not much area left inside the headband clamp and the other parts for infill to happen. So they are pretty solid. So yeah, that's all the settings for the rest of the cone assembly. As you saw before, we did the cone, the headband mount, and now those are the remaining parts. And so we're going to move on to the headband parts next. So we can go in here, select all of them, delete them, and we're going to go into our headband assembly. Use the oriented parts, and we can see that we're going to have a bit of a tough time fitting everything in. Cura doesn't let you nicely put things in the middle of this, and you would probably want to print the headband on its own anyways, so that's what I'm going to do. All of them except for the headband, delete, and we're going to arrange all models. And you can see that on our Ender 3, this is all still shaded out. the Cura doesn't like this very much, and that's because on the default, just our default standard quality profile, the build plate adhesion is skirt, and the default distance for the skirt I think is 10 millimeters. So let's check that. Let's see what it says. 10 millimeters. So either you can keep using skirt, or often I need to print this with a brim. And then from there, I'm going to do the same trick we did for the cone. And I want a brim distance of 0.2. And I think that an 8 millimeter brim is a lot. We can cut that down to 4. And I believe we'll have success with this model. Keep the support enabled. And the main part here is just that build plate adhesion. And we can check to make sure that we get a successful print. Yeah, so you can see we just get this nice brim around the side, and you can even see a little white gap in between to make sure that that doesn't have any troubles. Or rather, so that you don't have any troubles removing that brim. One part to watch out for here is you can actually search for elephant's foot, and I think it pops up. Yes, initial layer horizontal expansion. We kind of include this in our slicing instructions here. This this -1 to -0.2, or sorry, -0.1 to -0.2. This prevents that flaring out at the base of the print due to the nozzle squeeze. And I think it's just called, elephant's foot in Prusa slicer, but Cura, it's a little bit hidden. And so, tune this for your printer or how your offsets are set up. But I'll put in a -0.2 in this spot, so we don't wind up with a sharp edge around the edge of the headband. Or the spring, sorry. We call this the spring. The whole assembly is the headband. So we slice that. It'll account for that, and then we can save that as our spring. And then we should slice the spring clamps. So save that how you like. We're going to delete that and go to the clamp and cover. These come in imported just like they should print. We can use the standard settings that we used for the cone, or sorry, for the spring. And the brim will be really good here too. The one thing is that, you will need 2 of them, and we often will print these all together. The arrangements are always a little bit weird in Cura, but the standard support settings work great for this, for the covers. You can see that they put that support interface on both sides. Just be a little bit careful removing them. They can't snap off in an odd case, but luckily this is such a small part that it's no problem to reprint if you have troubles with that. Okay, so that's the end of the slicing guide for the Amame headphones. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out in our subreddit. That's the best place. You can find us on Instagram. And there will be updates to this. We may wind up updating this video, the slicing guide itself, and of course the headphones. As we make improvements to them, you'll get updated files for them. So thanks for tuning in, and please look forward to more videos in the future. So be sure to subscribe and like and all that fun good stuff. We'll talk soon.